Hello guys, this is Justin for CGTuts Plus, and today we're gonna be discussing a bit about studio rendering in Modo 401. Right here I have a basic scene for a studio rendering, for a studio render, and I have a floor which is basically a plane. Then I made I extended this edge upwards and then beveled the edge with a few segments, a few roundness level segments, just to get a soft transition. And I have a model here. It's a free model downloaded from the web. Can't really remember where I got it from, but it's just more interesting than a sphere or a teapot. Okay, so first let's talk about a bit about the lighting. Now to first create our lighting, we're gonna use a teapot just because it renders quicker, not the little Buddha guy. Okay, so just create a new mesh item, go up to geometry, primitive, and teapot. Then click and drag once in the viewport. Yeah, something obviously happened. Okay, teapot, there we go. And rotate it around minus 90 degrees. Make it a bit smaller. And try to place it on the floor. And give it a bit of rotation. Okay, now in this camera, now we're setting the camera. Okay, and switch over to the render tab. By default, Modo comes in with a directional light like that, but I'm not going to use this one for my lighting. I'm only going to use area lights. So first of all, in a typical studio shot, the camera that takes the picture most certainly has a flash. So we're gonna create that flash simply by adding a new light. So item, create light, area light, and now we are going to match its position to the camera. Now we can do that very quickly and simply in Modo 401 by going to the Animate tab over here and select the camera. Select the light, then hold down Shift and select the camera, and then go to Match Position. Then select the light again, hold down Shift, select the camera, Match Rotation. Now we have the light, which is acting as our flash. So this is how a studio picture would look without the extra lights. Well, yeah, and made in complete darkness. Let me just go over here and adjust the frame size a bit, just so we can squeeze a faster render. Okay, and now if we render, this is how it would look like. One thing I need you guys to do is go over in your final color output and make sure your gamma is set to 2.2. Also, you can play around with the white level if you're not happy with the result, but I'm quite happy, and we don't really you can't expect too much from only one light, no GI. Okay, now that we have this light positioned and aligned to the camera, let's look a bit at the settings. Now, first of all, you do have the option, for example, area lights in Modo don't show up as a rectangle in the reflections. Let's assign a quick material to our teapot here. Okay, call this teapot. Make it full white, and just give it a bit of reflection so we can see what's going on. Okay, so you can see that the environment is reflecting right there, and we don't get any reflection from the area light. Well, you can to fix that in Modo, you basically have to add a plane that matches the area light. First of all, turn off simple shading in the area light settings, and for the final product shot, you might want to change the samples to something higher. I don't know, 128 or 256, something like that. Now the flash is usually strong, so let's change the radiance of this to, I don't know, maybe double. Let's say 6. So this would be the flash. Let me show you how to quickly add that plane for reflection for the flash. What I want you to know is that I'm not going to be using the plane technique for reflection in this tutorial, simply because I'm going to use a Studio HDRI to give me some nice reflections. Okay, now assign a material to this, call it flash. Okay, we need it 0 diffuse, 0 specular. And we need to check double-sided here. Well, yeah, but you can leave it off. I just checked double-sided, just in case it gets flipped when I match it to the camera, to the area light. I'm sorry, and I don't want to flip it. But you can do that. Okay, so change the settings of it. Just change the luminous intensity. Change it to, I don't know, something like 1 for start. We don't need it to light our scene. We just want it to mimic the area light. Okay, now go over to the animate tab. Let's rename this layer flash. Okay. Now select the flash layer, then the area light, and go match position, match rotation. But I don't know, for some reason, when I do a match, it doesn't want to do the other match. So maybe it will work this time. Oh, you gotta be careful the order you select things, because if you select the area light then the flash, it will match the area light to the mesh. So first select the flash, I'm sorry, and then hold down Shift, select the area light, and match rotation. Now apparently we need to rotate the flash around, so just go over to model, make sure you're on the flash layer. Okay, switch your action center to local, just to rotate alongside the normals. Well, actually we don't need to do that, just keep it automatic, and then rotate 90 degrees. And now if we try to match again, it should probably work. So flash, hold down Shift, area light, match rotation, and like I said, it doesn't really want to work. Okay, the only thing that we can do here is just copy these coordinates. So it has, just copy the X and the Y rotation data, and the position. Although they appear to be the same, they don't match. So you can just do it manually if the quick version doesn't work. Okay. And that's about it. Doesn't really have to be exact, but it's very close. Okay, now if we go over to the render tab, okay, I think we need to move this a bit in the back just so it shows the area light. Okay, now this doesn't really show right now in the reflection. It does a bit if you look closely. I don't know if you guys can see it on the recording, but you can definitely see it over there. What we can try is move the flash material above the base shader, add a new shader, and then turn off cast shadows, receive shadows, and we don't want it to be visible at camera, but we do want it to be visible. I'm sorry, we only want it to be visible to the reflection and refraction rays. That way, we can go in here and just turn the luminous intensity up as much as we can. But you have to keep in mind that we don't want it to be that visible. I mean, we don't want it to be that obvious in the reflection. So I think a value of 3 should probably work. Although a flash is not really that squarish, so we can just subdivide it a bit, maybe twice, and apply subdivision. That will make it rounder and much nicer. Okay, now that we got the flash sorted, let's change the color of this teapot. It's a bit boring. I always like to choose red just because it's in contrast with everything around, and you can see the reflections much better. Okay, now you can see that you can get nice reflections with this, but like I said earlier, I'm not going to use the plane. So I'm just gonna delete it. You guys can do this if you want, but I'm not gonna use the plane method for reflection. Instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another environment that I'm gonna use for reflection. But I'm gonna do that later when we finish the lighting process. Okay, now basically in a studio set, you don't have only one light. You have at least 3 lights. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna add 2 more lights. So item, create light, area light. Depending on the situation or on the object that you're rendering, you may have to use like spotlights and stuff. But I'm just gonna stick to area lights. This method can be ported to any other light types. Okay, I'm just fiddling around with this light. Just want it towards my object. Okay. Now, one thing you want to make sure of is not to have too many specular highlights. Although we have the freedom to change that in the 3D world, we can take off affect specular in a light. They don't have that in a normal and real world environment. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave the specular on for this one, especially because I don't know, I like it. I like how it shows right now. But I'm just gonna turn it down just a little bit, maybe half of what it is. I don't want it to be that visible. I still want my my key light to be the the camera flash. Okay, so specular down to 50%. Now let's play around with the intensity, and I think the intensity would be 4 on this one, maybe 3.5, and 1.3 for the dimension. Okay, now switch over to the top viewport, and now we're gonna duplicate our light. We're gonna actually, I think it would be best to mirror it, but let's just leave it like this. Okay, and now we're gonna rotate it 180 degrees, and let's just move it on this side, and just play around with it until you're happy with the result. You don't you might want to change the intensity on this one. Depends on what side or what angle you want your strongest light to point from, but I'm just gonna leave this at 3, no less. And this is pretty much it for the basic studio lighting. If you want more complex rigs, you can play around with it, but for a even lighting and I don't know, some basic settings, this would be pretty much it. Now let's go a bit further on this one, and I have to tell you that my personal preference is a lot of color variation and a lot of contrast. So obviously the flash of my my camera here needs to have a bit of a bluish color, just a little bit, not too much. We don't want too much. Now these side lights, well, these side lights always like contrasting colors, so I'm just gonna pick some orange for that light, or I don't know, maybe some blue for this light. Okay, some blue for this light and some orange for the other one. I think you know where I'm going here. It's kind of like a contrast between cold and hot colors. I don't know, I kind of like this one. One thing I don't like right now is the intensity. I mean the saturation of this one. It's kind of too blue down there. Although when we enable global illumination, that blue and that orange is gonna wash out. Just it's not gonna be that visible. Okay, now let's go over to our environment, and let's set the environment type to constant, and let's pick a gray color. We don't want it to be too light because it's a studio shot, and basically studios don't have any outside environment interference. Now let's go over to the render tab and enable the global illumination. Make sure you turn down the ambient intensity to 0, and apparently our environment, yeah, it was turned off visible to indirect rays. I played around with it a bit earlier, so I kind of forgot. Now as you can see, it's over bright, so to do that, to turn that off, we just turn this down just a little bit. We don't want to wash out the color completely, and we can, well, we could play with the opacity, maybe turn it down to 50, but what I like to do is leave that to 100 and go over to the environment and change down, turn down the intensity. So I usually go with 0.6 or I don't know, 0.7, something like that. It's good to get to something like neutral ground, not too over bright and not too dark. But I'm just gonna leave it as 0.6, and I'm gonna turn down the opacity to, I don't know, 80. Yeah, 80 would work. I still want to see the light coming from the left and right. Okay, now that we're done with this environment, we're gonna get on with the second environment. But before we do that, we need to turn off the reflection and refraction, because we don't want this environment to affect our reflection or refraction rays, because simply because it's a constant. It's like a solid color, has no variation whatsoever. Um, sorry about my language, miss spells or whatever. I'm just a bit tired today. Okay, now let's add another environment. So go over to the item, create environment. Now this second environment, before that, remember to save your scene. I have it saved as studio rendering.lxo, and I don't know, just save often. Modo, like any other software, crashes. So this second environment, we're gonna go over to our presets, and we're gonna select a studio environment. Just give it a few seconds to load up, and we're gonna pick, let's see, maybe this one. This one looks good. Not so good on the reflection, because this is what we're looking for, reflection. Maybe soft tint. Yeah, this one. This one looks good on reflection. So we have this HDRI image. Now on this environment, we need to turn off visible to camera, visible to indirect rays, and leave reflection and refraction on. Okay, so it looks that it's pretty much complete. One thing I want to mention is that in a studio environment, every material, if not all the materials, should look pretty decent. So let's take, for example, I don't know, maybe frosted glass. Let's go over to the model tab and create a fast box. That will be our glass. Okay. Make sure it's sitting on the floor. Okay. And let's assign this, I don't know, glass. And turn the transparent amount to, I don't know, 98. The absorption distance, 5 millimeters, just a bit, maybe a pinkish color as the transparent, too pink. Again, too pink. Just want a slight tint. Okay. And I don't know. Let's change the refractive index to glass. I don't know, let's choose that one, flint glass. And to make frosted glass, you just play with this refraction roughness. Just gonna give it a bit, maybe 20. And you might want to keep the rays up just so you don't get a lot of noise. I'm just gonna go for 128. I'm not gonna render the whole image, because frosted glass, I know from experience, it takes a while to render, and I don't really have the time right now. As you can see, it looks pretty good. You don't have any weird reflections, any weird refractions. One thing you might want to do when you're assigning glass material to objects is turn off the smoothing. Either turn it off completely, either keep it to a very low value. Okay, so basically every material that we assign to this plane should look almost perfect. Because the lighting is uniform, we have good reflections, we don't have any weird stuff going on. Okay, now I'm gonna delete this material. I'm gonna delete the plane also, and I'm gonna hide our teapot and unhide our little Buddha here. And we might want to zoom in on him just a tiny bit. Okay, and our Buddha should probably have some type of reflective material. We don't want him to look flat, so let's call him Buddha. Okay, turn the diffuse amount to 100. If you want, you can use one of the presets on the materials. I don't know, let's go for plastic, high gloss, and let's go for green. Yeah, green looks good. Okay, now I'm gonna let this render, and I'm gonna pause the render just so you guys don't have to watch it, and I'm gonna resume when it's done. Okay guys, it's done rendering. It took 1 minute and 6 seconds. We're not using pretty high settings either, so it doesn't have too much work to do. Our little Buddha looks quite good, but there's a few other things I need to tell you guys, and one of them is that every image that you see that has been computer generated most certainly has a bit of post work done on it. So I'm gonna show you how to quickly do that with your studio render. But before that, let's just go over a few things. One, I don't really like this green over my Buddha. I'm just gonna save my scene. My computer starts to choke all of a sudden. I don't really like it. And when you're working with high scenes, with big scenes, it's always a good choice to pause the preview. Yeah, I'm gonna go for maybe orange, brownish, something. Yeah, I like this orange. Okay. Yeah, I like this. So, in order to do some post work on an image, well, you could just go with standard ambient occlusion output, but you could also opt for more than that, because Modo comes with a full set of render outputs. For example, let's go diffuse, shading, direct. And if we render this, you're only gonna get the diffuse shading, which is lit by the direct light. Basically, this means no bounce light, if I'm not mistaken. There are a lot of render outputs that you can choose from. And if you look closely at this image, you're gonna see that it looks pretty good. And we're kind of getting a tune effect on our little Buddha here. Yes, so you're getting only the diffuse shading. Your whole scene is lit only by the three area lights that we have. No environment, no bounce light, nothing. Yeah. Okay, so like I said, you have a lot of render outputs. It would take a lot of time for for me to explain all of them, but you can probably tell what they do just by looking at their name. For example, diffuse shading total is just the lighting without any reflections, specular, or something like that. I'm not really sure what the diffuse coefficient, reflection coefficient, or specular coefficient do. Let's just pick reflection and see what this does. I haven't really used all of them. Usually I just use a ambient occlusion pass, some lighting passes, alpha, stuff like that. I don't really go into it. I think this is the reflection pass or something, or I think it's the pass that only renders you the objects that have reflection enabled on them. Yeah, that's what this is. Okay, so for example, on this image, what post work I would do? Well, I would definitely go with a ambient occlusion output. So let's select that from the list. Set your occlusion rays to 128. Occlusion range to, I don't know, 10 millimeters. Let's see what else we can do. Well, I don't know. Maybe we wanna, like, this is the specular shading, reflection shading. So if you would go like start from scratch, if you want to add yourself the reflections and all, you would probably want to go for a diffuse shading total, illumination total, reflection shading, specular shading, and so on. But I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna use an ambient occlusion output, and maybe I'm gonna use some reflection shading just because I want to do something funky with it. Just for the funky things. Okay, so let's change this to final color. And when you disable this, it kind of brought to my attention that the overall environment is too bright and our Buddha is too light. So I'm just going to go over to the Buddha material. Change is its diffuse amount to something lower, like 60. Oh no, sorry. Leave that to 80, and I'm just gonna play with the environment. So I'm gonna bring this to 0.5 and the opacity down to 50. Okay, and let's just saturate this color a bit more. Not that much. Yeah, something like that. Okay, now let's go over to the render settings. I'm just gonna use a slightly bigger frame, but I'm gonna keep the same aspect ratio. So if I want to change the resolution without changing the image aspect ratio, you just stick here until you find this sign, this symbol, and you change it to whatever you like. I'm probably gonna go with 800 by 666, and I'm gonna use 16 samples with a Mitchell filter, and this is not a very complicated scene, so I'll just leave the refinement threshold as it is. What I'm gonna change is the ray threshold. I don't have too many light samples, and I do want this to be a bit lower to control the noise, so I'm gonna change it to 0.05. And for the global illumination, I'm gonna leave it default because it's not something fancy. So I'm just gonna save my scene. I'm gonna leave it render. I'm gonna pause and resume when it's done. Okay, so it's done rendering. It took 3 minutes. So what we have here is the ambient occlusion output. From this menu over here, you can select between the outputs. So reflection and color. I already saved those images. You can just click Save Image, type in the name, save it, and switch over to the other output and save it. Now, one thing I forgot to do is flush out an alpha output just for the Buddha. So I'm gonna hide my floor. I'm just gonna leave the little Buddha standing. I'm gonna hide every um, uh, output. I'm gonna duplicate the final color output, and I'm gonna change it to alpha. Now what's gonna do is and unhide it. What's gonna do now, it's only gonna render a alpha output for my Buddha. Okay, save that out as alpha, and we're gonna use this to cut out the Buddha from the reflection output. Okay, make sure you load that into Photoshop. I already loaded mine. Now, for example, if you take this one and put it over and change the mode to, I don't know, overlay, you can get some very interesting color contrast. But we're gonna go for a straight. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that, guys. My phone started to ring. So, if you play with the render outputs, you can get some very funky images. But we're just gonna go for the straight, clean look. Now, we're gonna, as I said, we're gonna use the alpha to cut out the just the Buddha. We don't want the black thingy. So just activate quick mask here and paste in the alpha channel. And now we can play with the blending mode. So if we set it to multiply, we're gonna get a very, very dark Buddha. Obviously, you have a lot of choices. And a lot of options, but I think I'm gonna go with the overlay mode because it's giving a pretty nice output. As you can see, the contrast is a bit better, but we can fix the contrast if we go over to image adjustment curves, if I can find it, and we can do a bit of an S curve, which improves the contrast. But this was just an example. Okay, but we're not gonna use the reflection after all, so we're only gonna use the ambient occlusion output, and we're gonna set this to multiply. As you can see, it definitely gives us more shadows and more contrast that we're already missing. But I don't like to keep it at 100%. I'm just gonna bring it down to maybe 60. You can still notice it pretty good. Okay, and maybe we can adjust the image a bit. Maybe bring in the lighting. Maybe just that was too much. Okay, and this was about it about studio lighting, guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I'll see you around.